Dear viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we shall discuss two literary terms, two dramatic terms in a nutshell. The two dramatic terms are tragedy and tragicomedy. First, we shall discuss on tragedy. Tragedy, you know, the Greek comes from the word tragedy comes from the Greek word tragos. The meaning of tragos is goat skin. So the Greek word tragos is said to be the origin of the term of tragedy, which denotes a goat song. So the word tragedy comes from the Greek word tragos, meaning goat skin, which denotes, that is, tragedy denotes a goat song. In fact, the worshippers of Dionysos, 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 god of wine and fertility. Dionysos was the god of wine and fertility. The worshippers of Dionysos wore goat skin and sang in praise of their idols. The group of the singers formed a chorus, and gradually one of the singers stood apart and served as the principal singer. Others just repeating what the main singer sang. This was how thus dialogue came into vogue. However, Thespis is said to be the father of true tragedy. Thespis, the inventor of tragedy. Thespis is considered the inventor of tragedy. Thespis is said to be the father of true tragedy. Which is and what is tragedy? The definition of tragedy has been given by Aristotle in his Poetics. In his treatise, the Poetics, he has given this definition of tragedy. Tragedy is an imitation of action of magnitude and complete in itself, evoking the two emotions, pity and fear, the expulsion of which provides catharsis, leading to a kind of pleasure in sadness. So this is the definition of tragedy given by Aristotle in his treatise, the Poetics. So tragedy is an imitation of an action of magnitude and complete in itself, evoking the twin emotions, pity and fear, the expulsion of which provides catharsis, leading to a kind of pleasure in sadness. Actually, tragedy is opposite of comedy. Comedy ends on a happy note. Whereas tragedy ends on a sad note, in which the protagonist dies, the hero or the heroine dies. In comedy, the hero ends on a drama comes to an end on a happy note. There is a reunion of the hero and heroine in comedy, but in tragedy, either the hero or the heroine or both die at the end, and thus it makes the ending sad. So tragedy ends on a sad note, whereas comedy ends on a happy note. Now, The example of tragedy, there are so many tragedy writers and there are so many tragedies, tragic dramas, and I here I am providing you the few tragedy, that is Sophocles, Oedipus the king, and Shakespeare's Hamlet, Macbeth, etc. are great example of tragedy. Our next literary term is tragi-comedy. We shall concentrate on another literary term, dramatic term, that is tragi-comedy. So tragi-comedy is a play that begins seriously but ends on a light note, evocative of happiness. So the play begins seriously but ends on a light note, evocative of happiness, is known as tragicomedy. It combines laughter with sorrow. The former predominates. The former predominating. True classical drama does not approve it. True classical drama does not approve it. It means a play should be either totally tragic or totally comic. A classicist recommends the play which is either totally tragic or totally comic. But despite the oppositions of the classical scholars, tragicomedy manages to gain ground, and even Shakespeare ventures on composing such plays. His The Tempest is an instance of tragicomedy. Since tragicomedy is concerned with averting a dangerous consequence, it is otherwise known as averted tragedy. Another name of uh, tragicomedy is averted tragedy. Since it averts a dangerous consequence and ends on a light note. It begins seriously but ends on a light note. Since it averts a dangerous consequence, it is otherwise known as averted tragedy. So another name of uh, tragicomedy is averted tragedy. Beaumont and Fletcher jointly, Beaumont and Fletcher are two great post-Shakespearean dramatists, Jacobean dramatists. They jointly wrote dramas. They jointly wrote tragicomedy. So Beaumont and Fletcher jointly wrote a number of tragicomedy, and their names are permanently associated with this mingle genre. Mingle genre means mingling tragedy with comedy. So that is why tragicomedy. So those who have not yet subscribed my channel, please subscribe it and share among your friends, comment and like. Thank you for watching.